Welcome back to the Talk Past podcast. I am your host, uh, certified this time, NC, and of course, welcoming back a wonderful longtime friend. You may introduce yourself.
Hello, I'm Kat. Um, I've known NC for since 2011.
11
So that's
years.
been 11 years. Um,
That was Peasant Revolt, right?
it was Peasant Revolt. That was my very first year in cast um at the fair.
And
And
then go ahead.
I was going as a patron for years and years before, as a little kid, and then I took a break from going because I guess family stuff was getting in the way or whatever. Um, and then a bunch of people I knew from high school in the drama department decided to go in 2010, our first Arthur year,
Hmm.
or the fair's first Arthur year, the return to Camelot sort of scenario. Because
Kind of weird.
a few people that we knew were in it, and then I got hooked. Next year, I showed up to auditions, and the fair has not been able to get rid of me since.
Indeed. Sometimes we're interchangeable, such as myself at this moment, but it's kind of an addicting situation to get into reenactment. Um, Peasant Revolt. I always forget. I now forget like the names of the years and all that stuff. I definitely forget the battles. Like I have no clue what battles they are. I tend to just remember them as Peasant Revolt and Irish Year and Cressy Year. Obviously, it's the Battle of Cressy.
Yeah,
And
Irish year, the year everyone wishes they could forget.
pretty much. Uh, although that one is the only one I remember, because that besides Eddington, because obviously recent, but I don't even remember the Joan one. But Irish Year was the Battle of Glen Mama, so there was always all those bits about Glen's mama, even though
hmm
nobody knew her. But whatever. Um, were you doing anything beforehand, like reenactment wise, or cosplay, conventions, theater, etc.?
No, I basically um my freshman year of high school, I did some theater stuff. I was in the drama club at my high school. Um, and then that same year went to the fair as a patron, and sophomore year of high school, I was 15. I was 15 when I joined. Um, so really my whole life has just been the fair.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of the people that like I remember Michael be coming in at 11, and he's still doing it. So like
hmm
some people are born into it. They're like
Yeah.
just kind of somebody lays an egg on the board, it becomes a human, and then they never leave.
Oh, definitely.
I don't think that's how people work, but that's kind of how it goes on in my head. But what did you do, Peasant Revolt? Like character, if you remember. I don't even remember what I was doing.
I do remember actually, because it's how I met Caleb. Um, he doesn't remember it, but I remember a lot of that year.
Mhm.
I don't remember my character's name, but I played a washerwoman and I was a peasant. And we were revolting against the poll tax.
Yeah.
Um, the nobles imposed a poll tax or something, and we were revolting against it, and we had all these like really cute, funny, and punny signs. Uh, all the patrons were like, "Oh, ho, ho, oh, that's so cute! Look at them being little medieval peasants and revolting. Oh,
Mhm.
that's adorable."
So they're
Um,
they're covered in mud just like us.
yeah, yeah. Oh gosh, this probably was not very sanitary or not a very smart thing to do, but my little group of um of the beans, as we were called, because we were the young little kids or the teeny boppers or whatever. Um, we had a bunch of water because we were peasants, so we had to cover ourselves in mud. So we would pour some water in the mud, and the mud that we chose happened to be close to the privy, our backstage privy. And looking back, wasn't a smart decision, but because the foot traffic was so heavy in that area, there wasn't any grass, so we wouldn't disturb the grass and we would have lots and lots of mud. So we would rub that all over our face and our clothes. Um, and I'm very happy that none of us in that group caught anything from that. But we were like, "Oh, this is so fun. We're covering ourselves in mud and we're not getting in
Yeah.
trouble."
That around that time is when I don't know if it was the new store brand version, which was kinda shady, or the original, but the Mud Show. I remember that we had that at least for 2
Yeah,
years.
that yeah, it was that year, I think was the second to last year that we had the mud show.
Yeah. They had, like, scientific mud, the a very clean mud,
Yeah, because
I
it was like
suppose
coffee or something.
probably. I never really dug the people doing it, so I never got into the details of what they were doing, but looking back now, I assume as a peasant, it might be good to understand what they were using.
Mhm. Yeah, I remember Becky, um, one of the years that she was on cast, she was a peasant and she jumped in the mud pit because she knew the mud show
Yeah.
performers and just came out one day just absolutely head to toe drenched in mud.
Mm. Sometimes it's just what the animals do to get clean. Sometimes that's what you gotta do, get dirty to get clean.
Mhm.
Get all the fleas and the bugs off. I know there's a lot of that in Florida.
Yep, and it keeps you cool.
Indeed. In Suave. Or is it soiree? No, that's an event. Suave. Should have a suave soiree sometime.
Oh,
Um,
for sure.
mhm. So you were very young in Peasant Revolt. I don't really remember much of you then, but also I had like intense social anxiety and lodged deep within my rock shell and didn't know anybody. And also those years are kind of a blank at this point. I think I was a noble. I really don't know. I think I was like soldier number 234 dressed in red like everybody else. Uh,
Yeah.
I have no clue. So it's all a wash of just nothing. But uh next year was Cressy? Irish? No, yes, it was
Yeah,
Irish.
the next year was Irish.
Irish. Yeah, because I had the fight in Cressy, which was fourth year that I did it. Third year for you. So I have no clue what's going on. So we had Irish here. Yeah. Once you get further apart from the first time you did it, it's just all a blur. But I remember we voted on Peasant Year during King Arthur, or whatever that concept of King Arthur was. I have no clue. It was as it was explained by the director, which I feel like I don't know. It just kind of like it came off really weird, right? I think they just wanted to do King Arthur, but they didn't want to do King Arthur.
Mhm.
Wanted to have like a cosplay King Arthur, but it was like uh bringing everybody back from the dead to the Sarasota medieval fair from the Arthurian, the Victorian slash Renaissance version of the Arthurian legends. But then we still chronologically did everything that happened within the Arthurian legends, all of course culminating to an episode of the Jerry Springer show on the board. I don't know if you were there when the times where we were like, I was gonna say episodes, the times where we were like, but you're sleeping with Lamorak and you're sleeping with Lancelot and you're sleeping with the blah blah blah. I
I
don't
was
know.
not there for that. I don't think we watched the chess match that year.
Oh, touche, touche. It's probably for the best. Um. Oh, so yeah, I think we got like 2 weekends out of that. And then the producer's like, "You gotta change that. That's kind of weird." But I guess they really did all sleep with each other. But it's kind of what happens when you go to conventions, isn't it? Um,
Yep.
yes. Uh, but going to Irish here, um, I just had this discussion with Odd Duck Out at deck out, of course, our current director, about auditions. Obviously, our former director did auditions different than how our new one is doing. But do you remember anything about the auditions that we had, like in those early years when we were doing the stage, and he would like come out and describe what we're doing? Welcome back to blah blah blah, and that kind
Mhm.
of thing. Do you remember any of the auditions that you did?
Um, no. No, I don't.
It's probably for the best, quite honestly. I remember my first one, and then I remember some of the like little moments that kind of take you out of it. I remember one year, Dave, and this is horrible that I'm laughing, but I'm doing it out of love because it's just a random moment, and he's fortunately okay. But I remember like 1 year, no, it was 2 years. It was 1 year after the other. Dave fell trying to get up on the stage once. Like he took a step and just fell.
Oh,
It's not funny. It,
oh.
it isn't funny, but it's just awkward, is what it is. But it's why I laugh, because I like awkward moments.
Yeah,
But I
we
just
can
remember,
laugh at it now because he's okay.
yeah. And then the next year, he tripped, falling, going off the stage. Um, but I just remember those awkward moments. Like I remember on my first one with Rick, who doesn't do the show anymore. He does theater now, which is an
Mhm.
absolute god in theater. I remember doing going to some of his shows and auditions at the Island Players, and dude is just a tank on stage. But just not knowing what to do at all. You're given like a scenario, but it's so awkward. Even now as a veteran, is really awkward, and I just wish every year to either just somehow do something else to not have to be there, or to just kind of hide in the crowd and never have to go on stage.
Yeah, because even though it's like different people that are usually paired up every single time, even if it's like a veteran with a veteran or a veteran with a new person or new person with new person, like if the scenario is like, okay, you are the master baker, you are the baker's apprentice, you're trying to teach the apprentice to bake
Yeah,
the cake. It doesn't matter who it is, the same exact scenario happens. It's the baker is trying to teach, and then the apprentice keeps like messing everything up, and it the same thing happens. So I just wish they would change it up a little bit.
yeah. Well, did we ever change it up? Because I know we do have a different improv director, but I don't
Hmm.
recall if they did anything different.
This past season, since it was technically the first season that um the directorship actually was like passed, the directorship baton was passed down. Um, they tried to keep it kind of familiar, so they kept the meat and
The concept of those a
yeah, the
little
meat
bit.
and potatoes of the auditions were the same, but then they added like um a couple different things. And I can't remember what they are because
Just like improv
uh
games.
yeah, just a couple different improv games. Um, and I can't remember what they are because I usually like to black out
Yeah,
auditions.
likewise. I used to
They're
be
not
very
anyone's finest moment.
Yeah, I used to envy the veterans when they were allowed to just skip it altogether because they were veterans. And then as soon as I come in, King Arthur year, it's like, nope, everybody's got to attend it now. Why do all the veterans that get all the golden little stars on their record? Everything gets wiped clean when you come in.
Hmm.
But so Irish here, as we of course will always digress in these. Um, that's another weird one. Blend of memory. I know I've had a lane fight that year that was kind of awkward. We did that weird. We tried to do a chess match on the. It was the mud year, so I don't know. It's just such a weird year. But what do you remember of like your character? Was it historical or was it like a your peasant thing, another made up character?
It was another made up character. I've only been given a historical character one time. and that was Guinevere. But for this one, I made up that I was a bard, um, like a storyteller or something.
Mhm.
And there is one moment that I remember. There's a little girl that came up to me and we had an interaction, and I was like having her help me tell a story about like a princess or something. Um, and at the end of it, she came up and gave me a hug,
Mm,
and like that's a core memory for me because that was like really sweet. Those are the things that we strive to do as performers, is create that sort of memory and interaction with little kids to make them feel like they're the center of attention and they are the main character.
indeed, as the customers tend to be in our show, of course. Um, I think that was my year where I was trying to, like, desperately not be a stereotype, because King Arthur year, I was, like, random Arthurian soldier, peasant, I was just, like, random red attire soldier with weird outfit, and then Irish was just, like, pajama guy who is a lecher, I guess, even though that's not what I'm going for. I wasn't going for the whole, like, creepy lecherous dude like Moroku from Inuyasha, but that's just kinda how it came out.
Yeah, I I remember a part from rehearsals where it was Tina who was in charge of costuming at that time.
Mhm.
She came up and was basically telling people like if you see some plaid in a pajama pant at like Walmart or something, buy it and bring it to her, and she would approve it.
Yeah, that was
And
pajama
people
year.
did. People wore their pajama pants.
Mhm. And my fight partner that year wore literally the same exact thing as me. I think because I actually gave him my fabric. Uh, but literally same pants, same top, same everything, same shoes. It was like the last time I fought, which was with Melissa in 2020, doing that little online stream fight thing we did, little online
Hmm.
match, which we should do again sometime. That was kind of weird and fun though.
Yeah, it was
Um,
fun. It's something fun to do in off season.
yeah, we should do that on the channel at some point too. But Melissa and I wore literally the same outfit. Hers was a dress, but mine was like it was cut of the same cloth. Um, did you do chess match that year?
I did not. The first year I kind of did and kind of didn't do chess match was Cressy. 'Cause I was an archer. My
Mhm.
parents did not allow me to do chessboard because it was too violent, and
Two.
ladies don't fight.
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it was too violent for a young lady, so I was not allowed to do it.
Oh, yeah, because it was, I think at that point, it was, like a permission,
Yeah. Yeah, if
and
you were a
people.
minor, you had to have permission, because obviously
Mhm,
you're a minor and you're dealing with weapons. And it was still the rule of if you are under 16, you can't have a weapon on the board.
unless you're a certain
Unless,
somebody.
yeah, unless you are a certain long-haired ginger boy.
Yep. But, or of course, one of Dan's kids,
Yeah,
um,
well,
because they're born with a sword.
hmm.
And, yeah, oof, that that also golden rule, which I think should have stayed, also kinda disappeared after, we came in. Um, but, so then that weird blur, let's just get out of Irish here. So Cressy, you got on the board. So obviously I have no clue what to do with a archery set. I've never even shot an arrow once in my life. I should probably change that. But did you, because we'll get into like the nuance of that year going into like rehearsals and stuff. But what brought you into that, wanting to do the archery aspect of that show?
So I've always done archery. Um, it was one of the things that they let us do in PE in elementary and middle school.
Oh, that's weird.
Um, yeah, like they would have just like, here are these targets. Go shoot them, children, and don't shoot each other. Um, it was fun, but it was weird. And I've always grown up with stories of Robin Hood, and he's always been one of my favorite characters. So I've always gotten like a passion of archery from
Mhm.
that. Um, so I had my own archery set, at home that I would shoot in the backyard, and sometimes the arrows would go into the neighbors. Um,
It happens. It's Florida.
yeah, yeah, and no one got hurt. No one got hurt. Um, but I couldn't use my own bow because the draw on it was too strong.
Hmm.
At that time, I think the my bow at that time I think was like 75 pound draw, something like that. And they gave me like a 25 pound to use, because we didn't want to hurt anyone.
Probably for the best,
So,
considering one of the rehearsal episodes.
oh yeah, oof.
Yeah, one of the little sidebars, just to yeah, one of those. I don't know, just one of those things where sometimes people probably shouldn't be doing the show.
Yeah. Can we tell that story without
Yeah, sure,
naming name? Yeah, because
sure.
I don't even
I
know
was thinking of it.
that kid's name.
I do.
So
We won't mention it because who cares? But
yeah,
go ahead.
yeah. So during one of the rehearsals, it was we were at Twin Lakes, which is the site that we go to when our usual site was in use.
Right.
Yeah, and that Twin Lakes is cursed. Every time that we have gone out there to rehearse, something bad has happened. Like noses have been broken, scalps have been split. People bleed when they go out to Twin Lakes. And we had just done the the first half of that chess match, and the archers were ready to shoot, and our director was telling people when to knock drawn loose, and we had to listen to them explicitly. We could not do anything. We could not move. We could not breathe without his say so, basically, for
Mm.
safety purposes. So we all did. I think there was 5 of us. We did knock draw loose, and we shot our little wooden dowels with rubber erasers tipped. We shot them at the shields. No one got hurt. And then, as everyone was standing up from a kneeling position, this kid loosed an arrow,
At full
and
strength.
at full strength, as people were standing up at like eye level, and it almost hit someone in the face.
It almost hit our current director.
Oh, that's right.
It
Oh.
missed him by maybe inches
Hmm.
in the head. So, I mean, no judgment on him as a person, but I think that's definitely a telltale sign. If someone's not listening and you're dealing with
With
uh,
projectile weapons that can
weapons in
potentially
general,
blind people.
so
Yeah.
even if it's just a wooden dowel with an eraser, I mean, at full strength, he could have done damage, especially considering it was aimed at his head. Uh,
Hmm.
some people shouldn't be doing this, at least the fighting aspect of it, right? I know it's really cool, but if you're not going to listen, or maybe you're a little just too awkward, because I think he was just a very, very awkward social anxiety kind of person, which I understand, so I don't judge him on it. But yeah, no, that's a directorial call. In
Mm.
all honesty, I think they did pull him from Fight Cast.
Yeah,
Uh,
they did immediately. They
yeah,
told him to put up his bow, and he was done. He wasn't gonna shoot.
right. Although during actual show, um, I think one day they needed an extra person. They put him on there, but he didn't have a bow. Like he just mimed it,
Yeah.
which
I
I'm
think
like,
he did have a bow, but he didn't have any arrows. So he just um
oh yeah, yeah.
fired an empty
Mhm.
bow.
But there was one day where he literally didn't. It was just literally just a mime, which
Hmm.
no one's gonna pay attention to that. So really, who cares? But unless you're in the show, right? Um, yeah, that was a weird little moment. Uh, but in any
Yeah,
case,
that was a very fun year because that was the year that we had the cannon in the keep.
mhm,
Also, we shot
the Bruce,
uh yeah, we shot the Bruce who was playing the King of Spain or King of Mallorca.
Majorca.
Um yeah, Cameron Diaz. Inside joke.
Yeah,
Um that was fun. But the shot fired from the cannon rocked the keep, and I remember every time the cannon went off, I had to grab the side of the keep for real to not fall over.
And probably to make sure the keep doesn't fall over.
Mm-hmm.
Our keep is literally just 4 panels of wood, hopefully held together by the staircase.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's any better now. Now that we have a
We
site.
didn't even have a staircase at that time. We had a ladder.
Indeed. Do we even have an
Yeah.
upper layer? Was that the
Yeah,
year that
that
they added it?
no, Peasant Revolt was the year that we added the second layer because we were beheading people.
Yes.
Yeah, we beheaded people for one weekend and we had a splash zone in the audience. So how we would do it, we would have our our axe man up top and we would have a he would have an axe and when we shoved the person who was going to get beheaded down, he would swing the axe and it would hit like a springboard that would shoot blood to make it feign like they got their head off and the veins or aorta or whatever were
Right.
spraying blood everywhere, and it got on people in the crowd, and they loved it. That was so fun, but we only could do it for one weekend because
Yeah.
it was too violent.
Allegedly.
Hmm.
Um, we can. Well, there's hot takes there. I'd take a bullet for him. But anywho, we like to push the boundaries, but obviously it's the producer's decision. But
Yeah,
uh,
which we will respect and
oh,
accept,
absolutely.
sometimes grumpily, but
No, I
yeah.
completely understand exactly what his vision is, and so now I know how to interpret it. Obviously, when you're in the show, I likened us to like the store brand stage show, um, as opposed to the other shows or brought in. Um, Sometimes it's that sort of separation that we are like our own show, but we really are like a direct representative of the festival. Like we are
Hmm.
the festival, so we kind of like I get it now. But I still have my hot takes regarding, and we discussed this with our current director, hot takes regarding Vlad the Impaler. But that year, Cressy, you were an archer, and I think that was my first year. That was the year I donned the draconic mask, which I have no clue why. But what I want to get to in the early years here is because I clearly didn't. But did you have any concept of what we were doing and the events that we were partaking in, like the actual history behind it?
I did a little bit because I tried to get into history um to try and teach the patrons, as we called them at the time, try and teach them a little bit about the scenario. Um, with Cressy, I don't remember why we were fighting or what the battle was about. Um, I think it was something to do with the Black Prince because he was there,
Mhm.
and that was the year that baby Edward was born into the Dan clan also.
Yep. That was the year I believe Tara fought Brent. She was a queen, and,
Yeah.
um, not really much else. We did have a nice fantastic melee with the arrows coming through and all that hip rock and jazz. Um, I believe I was on your side, so no, I don't know if I was behind a shield or watching, I'll be honest. At this point, I don't remember, but I think I was indeed on your side, watching them flow, right? Coming down. 'Cause I remember one hit Tina and just like lightly on the finger because her fingers were out on the shield. We all had like really tiny shields then. Some people had big shields, some people had like really tiny bucklers, which probably aren't going to protect you in any way, shape, or form.
Hmm.
Um, so then we did the march on and just kind of killed everybody, march on, kill everybody, blah, 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 and whatnot. But so you didn't have any sort of like melee. Well, obviously you were archering in the melee, but did you have anything on the board?
No, so I kinda compromised with my parents that year,
Yep.
so I wasn't going to both the Saturday and Sunday rehearsals because that was too much for them to drive. Um, so I just occasionally had to go towards the end of the chessboard rehearsals to do the melee,
Yeah.
to shoot the arrows, but I didn't actually have a fight. I wasn't physically on the board because it was too much driving for my parents, and at that time, I did not have a driver's license nor a car.
Touche, touche. Um, so, what was your sort of, takeaway from doing that year, having that newer experience and kinda indulging into something different than just the general cast?
Oh, I loved it. I really wanted to be on the board anytime after that. I I did not wanna be Jim cast anymore. I wanted to fight. But I couldn't the next year because that year, was actually the only year that I've taken a break on purpose,
Mhm.
because I went off to college.
Indeed.
And, that was the year that we did, a German year.
Something or is it what was it German? I think it was it Magyar?
Yeah, it was Magyar.
Hungarian, okay.
Okay, yeah.
I have no yeah, right, like, I have no clue. Um, was it Germans versus the Hungarians? Yes. Yes! I remember 'cause, some people had particularly German haircuts of a certain era, and, I just remember that, and getting in trouble by referencing it out
Mm.
in, front gate, when people gotta, hand their ticket in to enter. So
Oh.
mhm, which I do not, support, but, I will say. But, that year, it was such a weird, kind of frinkly year, but, I was
Yeah,
just I just kinda dressed like a turd. I was just in
yeah.
all brown and kind of in some just everything was just brown. Everything that year was brown. But, going back just a little bit, so in regards to the historical, because like I said, up until, like, Eddington, only because I had to, I had, like, no interest in knowing anything we did historically. For some reason, I don't know. I'm like I say, I'm more of a Jurassic Park than an Indiana Jones, even though
Mhm.
the Jurassic Park thing is a rabbit hole we won't get into.
Yeah.
But
Well, you had to know a little bit of the history for Scottish year. Um,
gotta share. Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, yes, yes, enough to just kinda like well, I got that from the Bruce mostly.
Mhm.
He'd be like,
Yeah,
"Well,
'cause your character's brother or father was murdered in a church.
brother," yeah,
Yeah, brother.
and that made me pretty much, quote, unquote, "king of Scotland." Obviously didn't happen because Robert the Bruce took it. Um, and then y'all have a prequel last year.
Mhm.
I joke with Zach because I was John Cummin that year, Scottish year. Um, I wore the gun kilt though. I didn't like the common kilt, so my apologies to the common family, but whatever. I was weird and didn't care at that point. And then Zach was John Cummin this year, the prior, right? John Cummin the prior. So I
Mhm.
joke that so we've done the original trilogy. We got the prequel trilogy down, which was all about the romance, right? And then now the next time we do Scottish, we're gonna do the sequel, and John Cummin is gonna be played by a woman.
Yeah.
It's gonna be Joan Cummin. Gonna have the 3 knots in the hair.
Mhm. Yeah. That's gonna be fun.
Indeed, indeed. Um, quick note in going back though, before I forget, because that's why I wanted to go backward in time there. Was that around the time that Once Upon a Time was happening? Or is that when you came back?
When I came back, which was Scottish year, that
Okay.
was the Once Upon a Time era, I think.
Yeah. That was when our director's wife, who amazing individual, uh, obsession with Bowie just like me. Um, I guess everybody was watching Once Upon a Time at that point and was
Mhm.
trying to cast everybody at who reflects the character in the show. And, of course, we say names, but they're out of context. But, Jarrah was referenced by her as being Mr. Gold and Rumpelstiltskin. And I'm like, "That's a horrible choice for Rumpelstiltskin. No offense to him." And she's like, "Oh, you're being mean." I'm like, "No, look at him with his afro at the time, and he's just so cool and suave." Going back to that word,
No, that
like
that is full offense to Jarrah. Full
uh,
offense to
no,
him.
I love Jarrah. He's so cool, and I know we make fun of the Dr Pepper thing, but it is a good drink. I don't
Yeah.
drink soda, but and then the you, I think they just automatically casted you as Belle
Yeah.
because you just looked like the actress.
Yeah. Emily DeRavin and I have a similar facial structure.
Indeed,
So so Shannon saw that, and at the time I did not have blonde hair. I had red hair, but she still was like, "You're gonna be Belle."
yeah. As if this is all going anywhere. But,
Mhm.
obviously, I had to, like, convince her, like, in the moment that, "No, no, I would do a better Rumple because I'm crazy. Jarrett's not crazy, he's cool. He'd be a good August. He'd be a good, like, one of those, like, biker characters, Prince Charming or something. He'd really fit in that role."
Yeah,
But
or even, Rumple's son. They have that same kinda, like, chill
yes,
feel vibe
yes,
around 'em.
yes. Uh, eventually, we understand is Peter Pan. Um, although at this point, I would do Michael as Peter Pan. Um
Yeah.
Right, because he's kinda in that right build, right look. But in any case, so just kinda, like, I had to convince her I was Rumple and pretty much spot on getting the voice and all that stuff. But I bring this up because this was all supposed to, like, be going somewhere, right? We were supposed to do, like, a convention, a Once Upon a Time convention
Mhm.
as the characters and even Dave, who's been on the show, one of the early shows here, um, David Dave is the older one. I referred David as the younger one. Um, was going to be Mr. Gold because we were going to do like the Rumple get up, and it's very difficult to get in and out of that. But that kind of went nowhere, and I still deeply resent that because I feel like we would have just absolutely been the best pair there. We would have been the best cosplay there, and would have been the best, basically the best couple as characters because I just got right into the character, and you got right into the character, and everybody else was just kind of like, "Tee, we're cosplaying, right?" But we were like,
Mhm.
really in it. Not like the relationship of Rumple and Belle, but like just getting into the personality of those characters. And I deeply resent that we didn't do that convention, whatever the heck it was.
Yeah, it was some sort of chessboard thing, and that would've been so fun to do.
Exactly, and then I remember the chessboard thing was taken away, and then we were just gonna do a stage show, right? Just a little stage show in one of the if you've ever been to a convention, I don't know if you have,
Yeah.
to reference, like, the conference rooms. Some are little, some are big. I've done panels at some conventions. And we were gonna have, like, just a simple, say, a stage setup with a curtain so that we can change and do whatever in the back, like a theater play, right? And we would have
Mhm.
little fights and whatever, and even that sounded really cool. And I was all for it because I don't know if you had anything to do with the Harry Potter stuff. Clearly not the first one from 2010, but we did do another one in 2011. Did you have any involvement in our Harry Potter convention?
I did not. No, that was a I think I was a little young for that or something. You
Okay.
guys either I wasn't a big enough name,
Mhm.
within the cast, or I was just too young.
It might have been before your time, maybe. 'Cause I mean, in terms of names, like, I just got right into it. Like, I showed up one day, and Shannon's like, "You wanna do it?" I'm like, "Absolutely, sure, that's why I'm here." And then same day, Dean's like, "So you're gonna show up for the fair?" I'm like, "Yeah, why not? Okay." And you just casually show up. but they were fun, and we need to do that again. Like our group doing a convention show, whether it's we come together and do like a Star Wars chess match or something, or whatever themed convention. If we do like a Harry Potter thing, or maybe finally get that Once Upon a Time thing now that Once Upon a Time's no longer relevant. Uh,
Mhm.
should do that sometime. Well, we'll look into like a convention and maybe do something. I think you and I at least should try to do like a photo shoot thing of our cosplay because we never got to do that, and I resent that.
Yeah. And it's not prevalent enough, the show is not prevalent enough for there to be like 5 million Rumples and like
Yeah,
all the Reginas. So it's more like a, oh my gosh, are they, oh they are, and it's more like it's more special for everyone.
yeah. To do something like as we completely digress, but do something. I don't know. Maybe now that we have the field to ourselves, or can find a convention that'll host it, like the Portofino back with the Harry Potter situation. But maybe try to make something like Metrocon does, where they have like multiple characters in the show, or I don't know. Well, we're gonna storm cloud this, see where the lightning strikes, and then maybe get our group together and figure something out because we need to do that again. But
Oh, absolutely.
because it's
And
fun. Go
yeah,
ahead.
maybe even MegaCon, which is in Orlando.
Hmm.
Because Metro has their own chessboard, they have their own characters, and
Yep.
they're trying to do their own storyline and stuff. And um, I think MegaCon might be easier, and they have the a lot of actors and actresses from Once Upon a Time there usually every year.
Yeah. And it doesn't
And
even have to be once, but I would love to at least once do Rumple.
hmm
But honestly, I do have experience doing panels and helping coordinate conventions for communities we don't need to get into, but up in Orlando. But I mean, really, there's a grace period for all conventions where they're trying to get people who want to do something, whether it's a panel, whether it's a show, whether it's this or that. I don't know how easy or hard it is to get into MegaCon, Dragon Con, whatever con, Star Wars is not Star Wars, sorry, Star Trek's character con. But we'll maybe get our group together and look into it. That is also something a good outlet for your specific group could do as well. Um, the Foot Combat Tournament group. That's
yeah,
a good way to get your name out there. Um,
oh yeah, absolutely. That's a fantastic idea.
as we totally digress, but
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, we've done conventions as well. You've done conventions. Have you done any conventions in terms of? Because I know you do cosplay as well.
Mhm. Yeah, I haven't been in any conventions like as a panelist or
Mhm.
whatever. I've just mainly gone to them in cosplay for like meetups for Assassin's Creed or for Marvel and uh, groups like that.
Yeah, and that's fun too. That's cool as well. I didn't do that when I went to the conventions that I did the panels in because who got time for that? But just a quick memory. I remember doing the second Harry Potter show. The second time I went ahead and stayed at the convention, and um, well, I stayed at the convention hotel. I didn't really do the convention itself, but I was Draco Malfoy, of course. Now I'd feel like I'm more of a Snape, but I was Draco at the time, my ugly little Draco, and my roommate for the hotel room, as well as not my fight partner, but basically should have been my fight partner because he was Harry Potter. Again, we were literally dressed the same exact, except for the tie. It's really weird, but I remember when we were just getting into the hotel, we got our room. We went ahead and got our passes for the convention. Um, I didn't do any of the panels or anything because I think it was just like a performance pass, so I can do like a little bit of stuff, but not really full I don't know. It was I didn't really pay much attention to the convention aspect of it, like I said. Um, but we were just walking around, just kind of trying to find our friends, and we spotted someone dressed perfectly as Severus Snape. Like he just wafted, right? He was so smooth and he just embodied that character. And as Draco and Potter, we just kind of like, I don't know. I'm pretty sure if he didn't notice, if he did, then I feel like we probably were rude about it. We weren't like making fun of him or anything. We were kind of in character, but we were just kind of like tagging behind him, kind of commenting in character about Snape. And he was just so suave. That's the word of the episode today. And just wafting down the corridor and then getting lost in a corner and all that stuff. It was just epic. Come to find out that individual, who unfortunately is no longer with us, but just embodied Snape perfectly, was in our show. And he obviously was Snape in our show. He was just a walk in because he's not a fighter, right? He was walking into Adam's fight with Jeremy at the time. Jeremy was Fenrir. Adam was his name tag said Jones Potter. How he misspelled Harry Potter's dad at a Harry Potter convention. He was James Potter, so Harry's dad. Um, and they fought, and then Lily was Lily, and there was just this perfect moment where she's like dying basically because she got attacked by Fenrir, and Snape just breaks through our group. He's in the corner with me, Lucius, who was another person not on cast, and just breaks through us and rushes to her. And I was in tears. Like this is a perfect moment. This is the perfect Snape just embodying the character. He just pushes James away and gets right to Lily, and everybody's silent. It was so amazing. And we made fun of him before we even met him as Draco and Harry. So hopefully he didn't listen to us and wasn't he was just like trying to get to his hotel room. But it was
I'm sure if he did, he was probably smiling to himself.
yeah, oh, that was such a great show. It's such a weird and very convoluted show, but that's what happens when you have like 3 or 4 directors and they all have like a different opinion. And I love all 4 of them, all 3 of them, all whatever of them, all one of them. And it was just a beautiful event, and that's why I think we gotta do another one. We have to do another one because it's such an amazing experience as a cast, as friends, and it's a very personal thing, and to be able to do that in such a personal setting as that was an experience I think we are our generation of SMF needs to experience, whether it's MegaCon, MetroCon, ConCon, TurtleCon, whatever.
Yeah, I would love to do something out of medieval context, without
Exactly.
like our traditional weapons.
Right. Like, what would you do? Say we did a convention and we were doing a chess match, right? Or just a show in general. But obviously, our specialty is chess match. Let's say
Mhm.
we get that, but we don't have to have a weapon. We don't have to be a character that's medieval. We don't even have to fight. You know, I fought in the second one. It was a very awkward fight because I wasn't trained at that point. But who would you want to be if we were allowed to just pluck from various fandoms and create something like a Metricon?
Uh, oh man. The only one I can think of right now is Belle Once Upon a Time because we've been talking about doing um the once chess match, but
Mhm.
I can just think of Belle probably in like either her huntress uniform, which she looks which is like the red leather jacket
Mhm.
uh and the pants, or as like modern day running a library Belle.
Yeah.
Um but fighting with a book, with a few different books.
Yes,
Um
that's what I was thinking, Belle would fight
Hitting
with a
people
book.
with it, and like if someone has let's say the dark one has the dark one's knife. Just use
Mhm.
a book, clap the book over the knife, and like disarm someone that way.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you would do Belle, I would do Rumple. Because I mean, I really can't think of anything else. Like, I'm very hinged on that concept that we had this thing and it was so exciting and it never happened. Otherwise, I'd probably think of something. I don't know, like if we're straying from like the usual, then maybe like a Mortal Kombat character. I've never done that. That's kind of in the concept of what we do, but you don't have to be a character with a weapon, or kind of weird. But I'd maybe like Legacy from Beastars, or the Baron from The Cat Returns. I know that's kind of a weird thing, but it's very out of place, and I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, and I'm sure someone would love to like do a Studio Ghibli sort of thing with all of his
Yeah.
characters. That would be really
Oh yeah.
nice to see.
Definitely not a chess match, but a cool, cute little show maybe. But
Yeah,
we'll brainstorm that. We'll get our group together and kind of think of something. You know what? Even if we can't get into a convention, we'll do something for the channel because
oh,
that's a great
definitely.
concept. But we were talking about Cressy, Irish, Scottish. What came after Scottish? Was that
After Scottish, was Lionheart Year.
was it?
Yeah, because this was 2000. Scottish was
Oh, yeah.
2015, and Lionheart was 2016.
No, no, because 2018 was a Viking year, and I distinctly remember the previous year was
The
Lionheart.
the year before Viking Year was Young Arthur, the Sword and Stone.
Oh, yes, because memory, right? Um,
Hmm.
that's a whole other thing too. But so Lionheart. Oh, see, this is I never paid attention to any of the historical aspects of what we did up until I had to. Um, and obviously now, while I have the time to look back on it. But what did you do for Lionheart year? Did you have did you were you on the board finally?
I was on the board. I went on the board for Scottish Year. Actually, I was just I wasn't a feature fighter or anything. I was just on the board. I did a few moves and I got killed. Um, and same thing with Lionheart Year. I literally had one move, and
Mm,
then Dean killed me.
as it happens.
Yeah,
I
as it happens, but that year was fun. Um, and going off of the once the once train, my character's name was Isabel, and she was a
Mhm.
bookbinder,
Yep.
and I had a blue dress going off of Belle's village ensemble. I had a blue dress and a brown apron, and I had like a book slung on my belt the entire time. And yeah,
Indeed. You know,
that was just really fun. I think that was probably one of our best years because it was just nonsense, but it
was
made sense.
was that the year that we lit the keep on fire?
No, that oh yes, it was. That was the year that we lit the keep on fire, which visually was absolutely stunning. Kind of hard to breathe in, but
Yeah. And I
looked
think pretty much every melee
fantastic.
since then has just been like a letdown in
Yeah,
comparison. But
they
that's what
tried
happens
to
when you
do the same thing with Joan, but it just wasn't the same. Because we
yeah.
also flayed Caleb alive Lionheart Year 2 at Closing Gate.
Mhm.
So we did two big things that year, and I don't think any other year has kind of lived up to the feel of that one.
Oh, exactly. At least the visual moment of that, it just was
Hmm.
epic. It's what happens when you throw all your eggs out of the basket.
Yeah,
Um, because the next year was our, as you present, King Arthur year, quote unquote. I refer to it as Morgan Le Fay year because that's what it should have been.
yeah.
Um,
It was the
but
year that everything was run by children.
basically, yes, yes.
Yeah.
Hot take, right? Um, that was the year that I was Greed, obviously one of the Sith, if you will. But What did you do that year? You were Guinevere, right?
It was
Obviously.
Guinevere. That was the only quote unquote historical or named character, I should say,
Mhm.
that I was given.
Did you
Uh,
do any research on her?
Yeah, so I actually bought the book that we were doing the scenario off of, the Once and Future King.
Yep.
Um, and I did a little bit of online research also of the different types of the different forms of Guinevere, I'll say, because there's a bunch of different versions of the Arthurian legends.
Yeah.
And in the scenario Once and Future King that we were trying to do, Guinevere is not introduced until Arthur's already king, and like he's just out looking for a wife, and Guinevere just happens to be like, "Oh, hey, I'm available, and I don't want to marry this guy. You want to marry me?" And they're like, "Oh, okay."
Mhm.
So it wasn't really a love match. Um,
It was sort of like the prequels, right? You're just
yeah.
kinda introduced to the characters that you know and love.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like I got off easy that year with Greed. It was absolutely a typecast. Like, I'm kinda tired of that too. That's why I tried to get away from that in the Scottish year. But, when you were Guinevere, did you finally, get a fight that year? Because I know at some point you
Yes.
did, and then it just kinda went you just
Yeah.
steamrolled the fight cast.
That was my first feature fight.
Mhm.
And it was a four person fight, 2v2.
Yes,
So,
you fought two of the deadly sins.
yeah, I fought uh baby Michael because he was a baby. He
Mhm,
was Gluttony, and then TJ was Sloth.
mm,
I fought them, and Colin, who played my father, was also fighting on my side. And I think I was playing a 13-year-old or 14-year-old or something along those lines, like really young, um, because Arthur
was
was,
very young, yeah.
yeah, his character was 12 at the time, so like there's supposed to be romantic interest, and I didn't want to make it too weird, even though they're both young, but it's like,
Yeah,
yeah, so I
I
think
know
I
for
made her like
modern. Oh, go ahead.
15 or something, yeah.
Yeah,
Um, but it was like I'm old enough, I can take care of myself, and proceeds to get into this fight with uh two of the seven deadly sins, and then Leon de Grance, who's Guinevere's father, has to run in and basically is saving her every single time.
mhm,
Um, and then in the end, Guinevere gets is getting choked out, and Leon de Grance, who has the other sin on point, he's like, okay, I give up, give up, don't hurt my daughter, sort of thing. Um, but it was just shenanigans for our group the entire time.
and of course began the saga of Colin playing your father.
Yeah.
Mhm,
He is my perpetual fair dad.
yep,
Yeah, and
much
I'm
as
not mad
Deb
about it.
much as Deb tends to be everybody's fair mom. Uh,
Hmm.
but that year, a quick notation on Guinevere in the Arthurian legends. Obviously, the Arthurian legend, it's kinda like iffy, and I hear a dog in the background.
Oh
Uh,
yeah. Oh, that's my
and
dog snoring.
Um, obviously, there's debate whether Arthur was real or not, and some of the characters. I definitely want to deep dive that on the channel at some point, going into the actual Welsh legends of the 5th century or 6th century or whatever Arthur, which I feel like is so weird that our group did like a Renaissance festival Arthur, right? Like the Disney Arthur, despite it actually having historical roots. But, what is your opinion in regards to the Arthurian legends? Like, do you think some of it's real? Do you think the Victorian era version is better? Or kinda what's your gauge there?
I definitely think that Arthur was a real person. There is some historical evidence pointing to a Roman soldier named Arturius. Um, and that kind of fits timeline wise around like the really early Celts and the Romans invading, and maybe this Roman soldier took the side of the Celts and became like the king. Um, kind of how the
Right. At
the
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 time,
Arthur movie with Keira Knightley, uh,
yeah,
that plot line. I think that is the closest historically. I use that word very loosely.
yeah,
Um, as far as Arthur legends go, um, as far as any of the other characters and how they are presented in the more modern um modern Arthurian legends, they're getting more and more fantasy, and
yeah,
they're usually portrayed as like the high medieval period knights with like the full plate armor and all the fancy
yeah.
stone castles and everything, like
Back when
which
the
were
medieval
more
period
like,
was a meme.
yeah, that's like 1400s about like the high medieval period.
Mhm.
Um because it's like the most beautiful. It's like the most pleasing to the eye. So a lot of people want to see that because they think the fancy medieval knights and everything going on quests. And it fits.
Right,
But it just, if you look at it historically, that is not when um Arthur would have existed, obviously.
right. I wish we would have done, and maybe in the future, we could do a Welsh Arthur. You know, the Saxon killer Arthur, the soldier who joins the Celts and gains a name. I don't think he would have been labeled king, more maybe a lord, like a warlord, which is kind of
Hmm.
the same thing in that time frame. But I
Yeah,
wish,
more of like a Robin of Locksley sort of scenario.
yeah, I wish we would do that because that sounds very like down and dirty, kind of gritty, getting to the earth of historical concept of Arthur, and would be really cool to bring out that concept because that we've got a complete. I mean, we do have an actual battle that we can do that Arthur quote unquote may have been at, but that kind
Yeah,
of lets us play with a uh, we'll say mud filter medieval aspect of King Arthur that maybe a lot of people just don't know and don't realize is where it came from.
I think it would be really cool to do like a Welsh Celts versus Roman Legionnaires
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something along those lines. Like a not strictly Roman Legionnaire on one side because that's going to be very expensive and not everyone's going to want to
the
invest in
Saxons.
that. Yeah, it would kind of be like mainly the Saxons who sided with the Romans with a few legionnaires mixed in or something like that. I
Yeah,
think that would be really cool. Very, very early medieval period.
indeed, indeed. If we don't, then I'm integrating that into the channel when we get back to live filming because that's a really
Yes,
cool concept.
100%.
But so that was a weird year though too. That was the year we tried at least to do the slow motion melee, which is
Which
just
I
like
think when you look at it from the outside, it looks really good. I think that worked out when Morgan cast a spell to slow everything down. I think it gave Tara a little bit of time to shine and really like flesh out her character really.
yeah,
Um, yeah, I wish I would have had more time throughout the run because it was supposed to be her
her
show.
show. Yeah. And then, hot take, but everybody knows obviously it got kind of stolen. No offense to Caleb. He
Yeah.
just kind of got thrown into that. But I don't know, that kind of felt like a hot mess to me. Oh my god, dealing with that. As my chair squeaks like a snoring dog. Um I remember some people just couldn't grasp the concept of going slow even during show. But
Hmm.
I don't know. I feel like that felt like an ultimate downgrade from what we did previous year. But we are at the whim of the director. Um,
Yeah, and some things they look great in the theater of the mind, but when you actually like flesh them out, sometimes they don't.
yeah.
Sometimes they do. Like it, and you have to. It's basically trial by error
Mhm.
with this sort of thing. And since
Yeah.
it's live theater, things can go wrong and things could not look as great as it did the previous day. And we have to accept that and just hope that we can either
Go
fix
well,
it or have better ideas for the future.
indubitably. But it reminds me, like, when that concept came up, I was like, I just want to like walk off the field, not interact with anybody in this melee, because I know that's the easiest way I can stay in this weird slow motion, which didn't happen. But do you ever have any plans going into our melees? Some people like have ideas of what they want to do, no matter what year it is, and they want to like implement it into the melee. Have you ever gotten to a point of having that sort of idea and wanting to implement it? And if so, ever did?
Only a couple of times. And it also depends on like my character, what my character choices are going to be. Like, if I've been slighted or I lose my fight, then I may or may not go after my opponent or whoever upset me. Um, and kind of segueing into the next year, which was our first Viking year.
Mhm.
Um, I had not fought with a shield, and I had this giant round shield, which I hand painted, and my dog, I put his baby paw prints on the shield also, because he was like 2 months at the time, and I thought it would be cute. So I wanted to go into the melee with a shield and do moves with that, which I did, and I helped Nicole kill her baby sister during the
Mm.
melee.
As does happen. Um, oh yeah. So I've had ideas that I've wanted to go into, and then like it used to be like I want to cross the board, or I just go from point A from like one corner to the other corner, and then at some point it just became I just want to die immediately.
Hmm.
So going into Eddington slash Viking year, that was such a weird year as well. It was a wonderful year, but it was also kind of a turmoil year. Um, so I kind of want your perspective because some people didn't get what they expected and also didn't get what they wanted out of it. Like I know you wanted to be Viking, but they cast you
Yeah.
as English. I didn't care. I didn't know I was going to be king. So I didn't really care what side. I was telling Dean because at that time I had a brand new Viking sax and from BKS, please sponsor us. Um, and I'm like, hey, well, whatever side Saxon, I'll just be like, I killed a Viking and got the dagger, or or hey, if I'm a Viking, then I've got my weapon. Uh, but then I was king. But you wanted to be Viking and you were not cast as that.
Yeah. I
Um,
really wanted to be Viking. Um, but yeah, I was cast as English, and I was upset. I was upset after
mhm,
the casting. But I got over it, and I found like a little loophole
yeah,
to kind of be best of both worlds. So like that same night as the casting came out, I texted our director. I was like, "Hey, what if I have this character concept? Like my mom is a Saxon, my dad was a Dane,
which
and
happened.
like yeah. Yeah, which happened. And I'll be like, "Oh, he taught me how to make armor or something like that." And I would have chainmail, which I did, but um mistakenly I did not. The chainmail did not ship soon enough, so I
Mhm.
didn't get as much time as I wanted with the chainmail, nor did I practice as much as I should have with the chainmail on. So I was very tired, and my fight ended up to be very slow that year. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, it, I liked that fight. It was a really fun fight. Not not my best work for the outcome.
indeed.
But
Um,
yeah.
that was such a weird concept, though. I remember some people were actually mad that they were Viking because they wanted to be English too. But why did you want to be Viking?
Just because we had never done a Viking scenario before, and I was like, oh yeah, Vikings, they're gonna have like the same kind of feel as we did Scottish year, which is like a lot of camaraderie and just basically like causing mischief and having fun. So I wanted that again. But it
Yeah,
just that year ended up to be a little weird
little off.
on both ends. Yeah, there was a lot of unfortunate to say, a lot of discord between people on both sides of the chessboard.
Yeah, I mean, I would look back. Granted, do I have anything to say in regards to that? Because I was king. Um, Not that king is like the best thing to be, but it's a simple choice, right? It's like this is your role, this is what you're doing. It's not you have to create a character or well, you wanted to be this, but now you have to be this. And then you got to find a loophole. But so and I know I don't really have a say there, but I've come to the conclusion that in all honesty, it's the show, right? It's the festival. We're all doing the same festival. We're all the same people. We're all the same friends and group, and blah blah blah. Ultimately, technically, it doesn't matter what side we're on. I know I wanted to be Scottish when we did Scottish. Ironically, I ended up being Scottish, but on the opposing side. And I'm very happy that you and Tina were Viking on my side because that happened.
Yeah,
Um,
it happened.
Alfred had his Vikings. He had his Danes. They weren't called Vikings; they were Danes. He had his Danes, people that were either integrated into society or people that were kind of like spies, and it is very prevalent. And I don't think that's quite known. At least, obviously, we got that in the Last Kingdom, but it's nice to have certain niche concepts kind of represented. I'm glad that you got to ultimately have what you wanted, if it at least wasn't on the same side as you wanted. Um, Tina, likewise, she really wanted to be Viking, so I'm like, just be Viking. Like, who cares? There were Vikings in the English army.
Yeah, it doesn't have to be 100% this side and 100% that side. There were
Yeah,
defectors um for both sides.
exactly. And that also would allow you to still integrate with them. Like they did have the camaraderie. I Even though I know English was the good, quote unquote, good side, I realized as soon as we were doing the scenario that it doesn't matter who's good or bad, the Vikings are the good guys. To the audience,
Hmm.
the Vikings are the good guys. We did have our Saxons in the crowd, but like it's like I don't know to liken it. I guess you got you got this like Bret Hart person, right, fighting a squash match dude. Like they're gonna go with the thing that they know the most. So I
Yeah.
kind of just in my role as Alfred King, I kind of like took that step back and just kind of pandered more to letting Zach have that grand stage because there is no way, shape, or form that the Saxons are gonna overcome the Vikings in terms of popularity, and I was perfectly okay with that. I know some people were kind of like, but it's like, who cares? We're all still having fun. We're all fighting. We're all acting. We're all doing what we want to do. So that's all great. And I'm going to kind of slightly skip over Joan for timing purposes. But last year, obviously, because I wasn't there and I do want to discuss it. How was last year for you? Obviously, it was a new site, new kind of feel, new site smell.
Yeah, I think it went really, really good. Um, there was a lot of patrons that came out and showed their loyalty, um, and a lot of new people in that area that had never been to anything like medieval Renaissance fair, anything like that, that came out and was like, this is really cool. I'm gonna come back to this every single year and bring my family. Um, and that was really awesome. And I think the choosing a Scottish scenario, kind of being like, Scottish barbarian sort of thing, kilts, really drew a lot of people in and
Mhm.
and got them comfortable, rather than like an obscure scenario that no one's gonna really know or connect with. Um,
Yeah.
so I think the choice of scenario was good. Um, everyone knows William Wallace,
What
or
did you
should
play?
know. I played a blacksmith. So this past year, they did something different with casting. So instead of just like letting you essentially choose your own adventure and choose whatever character, they they gave you a profession, your side and profession, and that was it. The rest you do on your own.
Okay.
So they
So
they gave me blacksmith, um, which is a traditionally masculine role. Um, but there were
however, of course,
female
yeah.
smiths out there, definitely.
Mhm. Which, of course, I was gonna ask, did you do the research in that regard? Because obviously, there is a tradition of, women becoming blacksmith. I think when they become widowed, then it's okay
Yeah,
for them to
either
go
when
into
they
that.
become widowed or in wartime, um, which is the scenario that I played off of for my character. So for my character, um, her brother was like the blacksmith of the family, ran the shop sort of thing.
Mhm.
But he died um in the battle before this one, which was like the Battle of Stirling or something. So she took over the business and was smithing everything for the Scottish army.
Did you take anything from or any references from A Knight's Tale?
I actually watched that after the fact,
Mhm.
after the show was done. Uh, but I wish I watched it beforehand so I could sneak in a few references
Oh, yeah. I think
for
people would
those
have loved that.
fans. Hmm.
Well, then, we'll close out with a couple things in regards to medieval blacksmiths. Obviously, I'm working on a live action series for the channel based on professions. The first one being the medieval blacksmith, obviously. But so that's taken me down a route of archaeological research, like really intense, in depth, of how to build and create the kind of things that a blacksmith in the Viking era would have had and had access to. Did you incorporate anything historical into that character besides the obvious background of how a woman would be able to get into that profession?
So I did a lot of research on names because Scotland with their clans and everything's names are very important. So I found that there was a blacksmithing clan, and their name in Scottish Gaelic basically means smith or crate, things like that. Um, and that's McGowan. So my character's name was McGowan, or their last name was McGowan. Um, so I had that name, and I found their tartan, which was it's very hard to find because it's such a small clan, and there's only two areas of Scotland that they're really from. One is Inverness, and the other one is somewhere on the lower west side of Scotland.
Hmm.
Um, so I found their tartan, and I had that tied around me the whole day, um, and I then of course then I researched the clothing, and I had like a blacksmith's apron, I had a hammer, and I had tongs, and that's what I one of the things that I used to fight with was the hammer and tongs.
So then, final question in regards to that, um, because obviously that's the main point of my research right now with the channel is getting together the series of a blacksmith. Granted, Viking era, but in regards to the attire, because you would have it differently than the men, because obviously Scottish, we're gonna take the fantasy route route e, however you want to say the name, um, of adding kilts and all that fantasy garbage that wasn't a thing, but we did it because that's what people think Scottish people wore because of Braveheart, right? Um,
Hmm.
were you, as a woman, obviously having a different means of clothing, did you have any ability to sort of implement historically accurate wear?
I wore
I'm kind of
pants.
yeah. I'm kind of making fun of the festival at the moment right now, kind of tongue in cheek, because we don't do historically accurate clothing. We don't do historically accurate fabric ever. Um,
Mhm.
so what I'm trying to get at is in terms of did you do besides what a blacksmith would have perhaps at the time? It was like the 1300s, right?
Uh,
I think it was
yeah,
1300.
yeah. I think it was like
Um,
mid 1300s.
yeah. Did you do any sort of research into what you would actually wear? I know 1300 would
Um,
have a little more leeway, like cotton would be much more prevalent. But I mean, like, there's like distinct things that we as a group don't do that actually is historical. So I'm fascinated to sort of ask individual cast members how they kind of get the outfit that they're wearing and if they took a historical route or just kind of went with our sort of reenactorism. Boots aside, because we love them
yeah,
here. Please sponsor
yeah,
us.
yeah. You kind of gotta cheat a little bit with the footwear to make sure that
Mhm.
it's durable and
Yeah.
safe and things like
Yeah.
that.
If you're not wearing
Um,
some sandals, what are you wearing? Right? Nothing.
yeah,
But go
exactly.
ahead.
Um, I try to do as historical looking as I possibly can. Um, I definitely do more anachronistic
Yeah.
uh costuming. Um, Part of it is for safety because we are in Florida and it's
Yeah.
hot, and if you get
Yeah.
pure linen, you're gonna die. So
Well, not
I
even
try to
just that. I mean,
do,
linen was
yeah.
the underwear. That was the undergarments. And then wool was on top of that. So I mean, wearing linen and then wool, and whatever, I assume in the Florida heat would it just kill us.
Oh, 100%. So I try to do linen look fabric, which you can get from like the sewing store, um, which is a like a cotton blend that has the I'm gonna say like stitching or weaving pattern to make it look like a linen fabric. Um, and the pants that I had were a linen blend that another cast member gave me that they found at a thrift store.
Mhm.
And and also if you buy like all the historical fabric that you need to be 100% historically accurate, you're going to break the bank. Um
Yeah. Depending on the, era, of course.
mhm.
I know high medieval, as that would have been around, they're just wearing an ungodly amount of stuff.
Yeah. Layers. Layers upon layers upon layers
Mhm.
and all the excess fabric.
Yep. I poke fun of that because I feel like I'm the most anachronistic in cast with all of my leather jackets and suede tabards and stuff, and my Terramer polymer tights. I don't think
Yeah.
anybody's ever noticed that except for Tina. That, like, the tights I'm wearing are just super modern, and I've been wearing them since 2010.
Yeah, 'cause no one's really going to notice. And if
No.
they do, why are they looking at your tights?
Why are they so close up that right? Like,
That they can see the little bit of elastic
mhm,
in them.
yep. Fortunately, it's not see-through, and that's all that matters. Um,
Mhm.
because we had that problem in several year we had that problem in Cressy year. We don't need to discuss that.
Yeah.
But, anywho, that was a wonderful discussion. I know there's a billion and one more things that we can always continue and digress, here on the channel in person conversation. But for timing, we'll wrap that up here, for this episode of the Talk Past podcast. I, of course, NC, you don't have to follow my Instagram. You probably shouldn't because I don't really post there. But definitely follow the medieval content one. I post usually when I have the time. Um, but of course, my wonderful guest, and please divulge a little bit on your tournament group too. Why don't you close
Yes.
yourself out?
Yeah, so I'm a member of FCFT, um, that is a full contact foot tournament. I'm not fighting. I am my character is the Lady of the Lace. I'm basically the Lady of the List. And I'm calling the fights. I am keeping score and basically like um kiss to the winner sort of deal. Um, I'm the eye candy.
Mhm.
But
Well,
the the
I would
guys,
say you're the backbone because you're the one making sure everybody has everything they need, right, in terms of
mhm,
attire.
yeah, trying to keep everyone safe and hydrated and everything. And I'm making tabards and banners and designing all of these things for the guys to have personal their personal designs and everything. Um, everyone's going to be in full armor, um, essentially, with um, little hacks for safety and everything, like padding, modern padding underneath. But exterior is going to be all accurate, historically accurate to the time periods that they are portraying with their characters,
Mhm.
um, and making sure that they are safe as well with like the grade of steel that they have and uh, the type of chainmail, things like that. Um, but it's going to be something that we are going to be starting up shortly, and we are on Instagram
Yep, go
also,
ahead.
and I
What's
can
that
try
Insty?
and pull that up.
There you
The
go.
FCFT.
There you go. But, yeah, that is that. Of course, I would love to have you guys as a group. Scheduling will be a thing, but as a group on the podcast, and I'll probably, commission you guys to feature on the channel once I'm actually back down there, so people can see what y'all are about, um, here in
No,
this
definitely. I will have
wonderful.
to get the guys organized on that.
Yes. Like I said, you're the backbone. You're the backbone of the
Mhm.
group.
It's like
Co
herding cats.
It is. I have that experience from doing the fight show from 2016, 2017 on the channel, um, which I'd like to do again at some point, but maybe not the way we did it then. But, as we continue to digress, let's just go ahead and close it out. Of course, I am NC, my wonderful friend and guest, Kat, and that is that.
Well, thank you for having me.